Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have David Pena. David, excited to have you on the show.
Hey, I'm super excited to be here with you and spending some awesome time.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing so many phenomenal things. So, what I wanted to do before we jumped into the interview was read a little bit more about David so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's working on. And David is a real estate mogul. And David immigrated to America, is now living the American dream by helping people build wealth through real estate. And what I absolutely loved about David and doing a little bit of homework and research is that David was born in El Salvador and he immigrated, if I'm right, to the United States when he was 14. And just reading about his journey, his work ethic, the things that he put in, I think it's inspirational for anybody, and especially, I'm sure, for the clients that he works with as well. And some other really cool things. He's been 40 under 40 in Loudon, Virginia. And also, I read that you're a CrossFitter and an ultra marathon runner, if I read that correctly, David. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm so excited to do this. But yeah, no, you're right about the. I got a few ultra marathons out of the way so I can have the bragging rights to say I'm an ultra marathon runner.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something I aspire to do, to have that checked off the box so I can put that in my bio as well too. So
Yeah, let's
let's
do
get
it.
it.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
I might join you in a couple not 100 miles, but I might join you in a 50 miler if you're
Okay.
down.
Hey, look, I got to make sure I can join myself in a 50 miler. So we'll see. We'll see from there.
It's fun. It's
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess to kick everything off, let's rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
Yeah, so I came. Yeah, you're right. I came to America when I was 14. Didn't speak any English, and I knew one of the first steps to do was if I wanted to succeed in this country, I had to speak the language. And I started working at a restaurant as a dishwasher, and then got myself through ESL classes, adult education, and yeah, it was a great journey. You're gonna get people who might not see your end goal, and but you just gotta let those people like water rub off your shoulder, your
Mhm.
back. That's the same way. You're gonna get negativity coming your way, and if you have people that don't think that you can make it, you got to do it twice for them, so you can show them and say, "Look, I did it twice for you." But yeah, I got people like that in my life. People make comments about it, and I was like, you know what? I was very naive, which it's good to have that naivete in you because you're like, what's how did I do that? So I was saying earlier, looking back now, it's like, how did I have that? I need to find that drive, that hunger. So
Mhm.
I still think I have some of it, but it's awesome to see, and you're like, damn, I miss that hungry, that naivete in me. So, but yeah, so about when I was 18, I took a ESL class. I was taking ESL classes. I learned about the GED, took the exam, probably failed it like 8 times because it was in a foreign language. And then a few years later, I met this lady. I was working at a restaurant, and she was like, "You'll be great in real estate." So I was like, I started looking into it, and I'm like, wow, the bar to get into real estate, get the test, is so low that you're like, this is so easy. And then you Google, right? Because Google is right, and it shows you it's like you can be making millions of dollars. And I was like, this is it. This is the path I'm choosing. And got my license when I was like 22, and it was quite a journey, man. Quite a journey. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It always is a journey, and I love that naivete. And I love what you said is that sometimes when people tell you that you can't do something, you have to do it twice to prove yourself right. And I think so many times we hear people that say that we can do this or we can't do that, and we forget that that's sometimes their insecurities or their life experiences that they're trying to place on you. But that doesn't mean that it's factor, that it's true. So I love that you heard those things, went through those experiences, but you said, hey, not only am I going to do it once, I'm going to do it again and again and again, and I'm going to
Yeah.
show you
Well,
this is
but you
how
have
it
to be
is.
very careful. I mean, you have to be very careful when to those people that are telling you stuff, because I feel like the older you get, the easier you can be persuaded. Like, oh, this is so stupid. So and I'm going through this right now. So I'm trying to do some a little bit of online content,
Yeah.
and I've done a couple videos in YouTube, and I've been chopping them up and putting it on Instagram, and I try not to take a look at the viewers and the engagement, whatever, because I'm like, is this what am I doing this for? I'm like,
Right.
and I get these people, and they mean well. They 100% mean well. I have a friend who's like, well, your video, maybe you should work. I'm like, okay, I'm working on what I have. I don't have
Yeah.
$5,000 budget to make
Right.
these eloquent videos. I'm working with what I have, but he means well. But I'm like, I have to be
Right.
very careful because those type of people can easily persuade you to be like to say for you to say, oh, this is stupid, I'm not going to do this anymore. But so you have to keep that in balance, right?
Yeah.
And I've noticed as I get older, I could easily be persuaded to not do something. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how life, has a way of doing that where sometimes, and I won't get into the whole psychology, not that I even know psychology well enough to talk about it, but sometimes when you go through those experiences and as you get older, you start to become more jaded about how things maybe won't work. So you sometimes don't take those first steps to kind of see it forward. But I always appreciate it because I often say too that if you go through experiences and sometimes people give you that advice, you got to kind of understand if people are saying it to you so that you don't do it because maybe they're jealous of you or they want to be whatever reason that's not positive, or those people that sometimes even love you and care for you but maybe at the same time they're not trying to have you like fail or make mistakes or stub your toe or any of those things. So it's like that balance between understanding where that advice is coming from is probably just as important as the advice that you're getting.
Right. Yeah, I heard this. I think it was a quote. Somebody says, people will take you as far as they've come,
Mm,
right? And this is a lot of it, your parents. Sometimes your parents, if your
yes.
parents live a middle class life, and they bought a house, whatever, they live happily ever after. So when they see they have somebody, and they trying to, and they, like you say, they mean well. They love their kids. They want to see them succeed. But the moment they're like, okay, I want to do this, they're like, well, I don't know. That's unknown territory to me. So I'm gonna tell you what I've done that has worked, and this is what you need to do. And it's like,
Right.
well, I need. They're gonna. People can take you as far as they've gone.
Mm,
Same for me, right? And I cannot be giving you advice on how to own $10 million in real estate when I don't have $10 million in real estate. But I will get there.
right.
Once I get there, I can be like, yeah, I can teach you.
Right.
Um, so yeah, if you own a property, and if somebody owns a property, your neighbor owns a property, and you're taking advice on him on what to invest in real estate, he doesn't know. Like he may be like, I don't know, man. I remember 2008. It was a lot of houses for sale. You should wait for the market crash. It's like, okay. So yeah, that's fascinates me because it's they can take you as far as they've gone.
Yeah, and that's a powerful quote. I definitely will borrow that from you. And I think you're, of course, like you alluded to, having those conversations with the clients that you work with as well too about real estate, what that looks like. Probably shattering a lot of those misconceptions, the way that people think it is or it isn't, and trying to help them to see that there is more opportunity in ways maybe they don't even see. So I guess could you take us through exactly what that looks like, how you're serving your clients, and how you're making that impact for them?
So I mean, this is gonna air in a few months. It might be the market might be a little bit different in 2024,
Mhm.
but as of 2023, a lot of people are fearful. The interest rates went up. Everybody's scared. So I'm trying to tell my people, right? There's always gonna be those people that will never buy. They're like, I'm waiting for a market crash, and you're like, well, but what makes you think that? Oh, it's a market crash. It's a market. It's like these are the same people that thought there was going to be a market crash in COVID-19. And granted, we don't know what was happening then. And they're like, I'm going to buy when the market crashes. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. But now, based on data, what we have, we are about 5 to 6 million homes short from the all the growth in the United States. So a market crash is a little bit like we're not seeing that happen unless you never know, something could happen and we get into a war or whatever. Then
Mhm.
things might change, but as of right now, we're not seeing a market crash, right? So I'm telling people, I'm educating people, like, look, if you buy now And with a high interest, sure, it sucks because your payment is this high, but you can refinance later when the interest rates come down, because they will come down. And the moment the interest rates come down, a lot of people, buyers who have been sitting in the fences, they will jump into the market, and it's going to drive the prices even higher than what you would be willing to pay now. And it is easier to refinance than to compete with 20 other offers. But I love Warren Buffett's quote that says, be fearful when everybody's greedy, and be greedy when everybody's fearful. This year, there's been a lot of fear. People are fearful, they don't know what's happening. And this is the time, for me at least, this is the time to be greedy. I'm like, I need to buy
Mhm.
more real estate. Because I own a couple properties. I was able to close on one couple weeks ago.
Nice. Congrats.
And yeah, thanks, man. And it's like, there is fear, of course, but I'm reminding myself of that quote. I'm like, okay, be fearful when everybody's greedy, be greedy when everybody's fearful. So, and I mean, this is an asset. I'm not buying a liability, you know. And but anyways, that's what I'm telling people. It's about educating. Once you become a client, then we go into the level of service. I try to give, you know, white glove service, or whatever the saying is,
Mhm.
where clients, about 80 to 90% of my business is referral based.
Okay.
So I try to do such a great job with the clients, where they're excited to refer me to their family members, friends, also past clients. I have this family. I helped them buy first house in 2017. A couple of years ago, they sold the property. Basically, the American dream, what America was built on, right? They bought
Mhm.
this townhouse. They made $70,000, $80,000. I don't remember exactly, but they used that money and put it in the next property.
Mhm.
And now they have the single family home, two-car garage, living the dream. That's
Yeah.
what America is. And yeah, I just love helping that type of people, because first of all, they're coming back as a referral, as a past client, and I'm helping them. It's definitely an honor and humbling to helping people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, and especially like I always say, we forget about like that human part of business, and having those, like you said, the dream, the aspirations, the goals, and having that come to fruition, and how you're helping them to connect that gap, or connect those dots, and build, that opportunity that they have for themselves, and I imagine for family, and generations and upon generations. That's definitely, a beautiful thing. Is that part of what you feel like is your secret sauce? It could be for yourself, the business, or a combination of both. Is it your ability to kind of like understand how important, the educational part is, but also be able to kind of, for lack of a better term, roll up your sleeves and do the work as well too?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think that would be a better question for my clients. But I've noticed, and I have a really good friend of mine. He says, because I wondered, I was like, well, I got this deal, and I was like, oh, I guess they like me. But he's like, well, you do what it takes. You do whatever it takes. I'm been working with this guy, an investor. I met him a few years ago, and we've done we do multiple deals a year. We buy the properties, he fixes it up, and then we sell it. And we were having a conversation the other day, because he's like, well, a lot of the stuff the reason I work with you is because you are doing a lot of paper, like legwork behind the doors. Like, I'm doing CMAs for this guy. He's like, hey, I'm interested in this property. How much it will sell for after it's fixed? I'm like, okay, these are the numbers. Here you go. He's like, yeah, no, not good. So I'm doing that for him. And I'm not, like, that's an added value that I provide for my investor clients, because and I'm not getting paid for that, but I'm getting paid at the end. But it's building trust, and it's building the referrals. So that's one of the reasons why he likes to work with me. And I'm also, listen, I love to talk about myself, and some people don't believe when I say, like, I don't think that my I do think highly of myself, but I don't think I'm that big of a deal, right? This might be brand new news for people that know me, but I think is I'm a go getter. Like, I make things happen. Coming from looking back for the last 17 years that I've been in the United States, and how far I've come. It's like, okay, and a lot of people see that. A lot of people see like, okay, this guy is a go-getter, and people read my bio and they're like, oh, okay, this guy is definitely somebody who is doing a net positive to society, and I think that's what has helped me get where I am. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And that's definitely one of the reasons I wanted to have David on the show, because you're doing so many phenomenal things and you are a go-getter. You're somebody that does do what it takes. So I definitely would echo that as well, too, of what your friends and people that are around you probably saying as well, that, the quote is there's never crowded along the extra mile, but so few people want to go that extra mile. So I appreciate you. And I know your clients appreciate it as well, too. You doing those things, because you don't have to do those things. And we don't have to do those things in many parts of our lives, but you, from your journey that you talked about, but even just working with clients doing those extra things helps to, like we talked about, help them with the American dream, helps to generate more revenue or wealth for them. Just so many of those different things make such a huge impact. So we don't always see like the scorecard when we're doing the things, but a lot of times we just
Yeah.
have to stay true to ourselves and hold true to those core
A lot of
beliefs
it,
we have.
yeah, and a lot of it has to do with consistency. Like
Mm,
it's definitely consistency, and I like to use that as a me working out, showing up, going to the gym, even when I don't feel like it, I just go, and because it's building some consistency in your subconscious mind, and the moment you start betraying yourself when you say I'm gonna go to the gym and you don't go to the gym, it gets easier. It gets easier and easier and easier. Like uh, when I ran my 100 miles,
hmm
uh, that was my second attempt. I ran 100 miles the first year, and I got to 82 miles,
hmm
80 like 18 miles left, and I ran out of time. And I was like, okay, that's it, whatever. But I had that on my shoulder. I'm like, it's there. I could have just been like, I ran to 82 miles. So the
Yeah.
following year, I went back, and this year I was a little bit more prepared, and I had some people. I built like some help around. I got some awesome people like to
Mm,
help me out, to pace me towards the end, and some support. Well, it's funny. I got to 82 miles, 3 4 hours earlier than the prior year, and
yeah.
my mind was done. Like my mind was like, "This is it." That I
hmm
had hit the ceiling, right?
hmm
And I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, I think I'm done." And this lady is like, "This is really good friend of mine." She's like, okay, that's fine. Take a break. And I take a break, and I'm like 4 a.m. in the morning. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning at this point. It's been raining. I have blisters in the bottom of my feet.
mm,
So I had all the excuses to give up.
right.
And she's like, all right, well, you're ready to go. And I was like, well, I thought I was done. But, this goes back to being naive, right? I was like, you know what? Whatever. Oh, if I'm going to run 5 more miles in the next aid station, if I have to quit, I'll just quit. Well, the sun comes out, right? This is because it took me like 30 hours to run. So this is 24 hours after running. The sun is coming out, and you're like, this is a new day. I felt so energized. And I ran that last loop, because it was like 5 loops, that
Yeah.
last loop the fastest I have ever run.
Mm,
And I was like, what the heck?
right.
So a lot of has to do with building that confidence. And if you think like, okay, this is my ceiling, whenever you get there, that's it. But so if you build that consistency, you tell yourself, you gotta negotiate with yourself, right? Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm
hmm
gonna run 5 miles. And you go out there, mile two sucks. It's like, okay, I said I was gonna run 5 miles, so I just gotta suck it up. I wanna walk them.
right.
So when I go to the gym, I'm like, I don't feel like making this lift. I don't feel like doing this, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend that I'm already here, right? 80, I
Yeah.
love this quote. 80% of success is showing up.
Mm,
So you
yeah.
still have to do 20%.
Yeah, exactly. Or 20
But
miles in that case,
80%
right?
is showing up.
Yeah, or 20
Yeah.
miles at that. But I think I appreciate you sharing that so much, because I think that parallels so many things in life. And definitely, I imagine, like you said, even for your clients, like you don't have to do those extra things that you do for clients, but you do those extra things because you made a commitment, and you said something to yourself. So you're committed to doing it, and you want to see that through. And I think that even if, no one sees you, or, they don't understand or any of those things, a lot of times the person you want to prove things to is the person that's looking in the mirror there. And that means
Right.
everything. And when you're able to do that, then again, you build that confidence and you can take things from there.
Right.
So,
I mean, if you tell your client, if you tell a client, hey, I'm going to call you back or I'm going to do this, like you better do it because
right.
you're not, now you're looking bad in front of the client, but worse
Exactly.
is, I don't, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, this is my client. This is once the transaction is over, I might see him a couple times after a year, I'm going to have an event. They're going to come, but I'm living with me. I'm 24/7 with me. And if I'm like, it's like betraying yourself.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times we can be our best friend, sometimes not so good friend, but it's so important that we kind of treat ourselves in the best light possible. And like you said, you don't want to let
Yep.
yourself down because you're with yourself 24/7, 365. So absolutely appreciate that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or even a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Ooh, those are good questions, man. Oh, so when I got into real estate, I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm like, I went hard on reading books. I read this book, The Miracle Morning. I don't
Mm,
know if you heard of it.
yes.
Yeah. So I did those habits. I did the meditation. I did the scribing, and I tried to do scribing a little bit, like journaling every once in a
Hmm.
while. But I probably need to get back into the saddle.
Yeah.
Praying. It was. I think it's 5 or 6, right? Savers, silence, affirmations,
Hmm.
vision, exercise,
Yeah.
and scribing journal. So it's 5.
Yeah.
So I'm still, I wake up. Mornings are one of the worst thing to do for me. Like waking up, that is
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
But I listen to at least 1 or 2 chapters in the Bible,
Mhm.
and I go hit the gym.
Mhm.
Once that is done, my day is like that's all. That's all I need. So I try to work out 5 days a week. So Saturday is a maybe, but Sunday I usually take off. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, man, Sunday night comes and I'm looking forward for the next day to go to the gym because it gives me order.
Yeah.
It's like order. Sunday is good, it's weekend, but it's a little bit chaotic. You don't go to the gym, you wake up a little bit late, you're like maybe a little hangover, right? And you're like, so Mondays is like, I mean,
Locked in.
still sucks going to the gym, but it's for me, it's like showing up and going to the gym that gives me order throughout the day because then I'm like, okay, gym is done. This is the most important thing is my body. I
Yeah.
got it out of the way. Now I can go serve my clients. It gives me so much energy, right? Now I can do this kind of stuff and be like energetic and happy, not all down and it's like, yeah. So, anyways, now it will be more working out, and of course, you need a little bit of. For me, is spirituality. So I try to read 1 or 2 chapters of the Bible or listen to it, and those are my 2 things that I have to do them to leave.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that, and especially how impactful it is that a lot of times, sometimes, and it gets when we're implementing those things, we can sometimes not like them as much. But once you start doing them and it provides that structure and you start to have that great morning, then it's a great day, or great afternoon, then it's a great day overall. You start to get, like, for lack of a better term, addicted to that. And you want to continue to kind of have that start to the day and do those things. So I love how that
Yeah.
kind of create that opportunity for you. So, what would you consider to be a little bit more what I call a CEO nugget? This could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. I like to say it might be something you would tell your favorite client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Mm. So that's easy. That for some reason that came out so fast. It's all attitude. So I use it everywhere. I use it at the gym. I use it in my personal life, and I use it in all the stuff. I'm having a conversation with you, and you say, "I would have used it perfectly." When you say the 50 miler, you're like, "Well, I don't know if I can do it
Yeah.
happily." My go-to is with that attitude.
Yeah.
You won with that attitude.
Yeah.
So when I'm lifting weight, and people my close friends and have used it against me. So let's say I'm about to do a lift. They're like, you should hit a PR. I'm like, I don't know. They're like, with that attitude, I'm like, but that is, and you have to be careful because it could be coming as a jokingly. So when I'm doing it with the
Yeah.
clients, I have to know them well enough for me to say
Yeah.
it. But I try to say when they're like, I can't do this. You're like, I try to tell them like, well, Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you can't,
You're
you're
right.
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when somebody says, I don't think I can do that,
With that
you
attitude.
can with that attitude.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
So,
that. I'm definitely going to borrow that from you. And then from that 50 miles that I was talking about with that attitude, yes, it will happen like that. But I think it goes back to, I think, what we were even talking about, where your reality becomes a lot of times what and how you have that attitude towards it. Like if you have the attitude, oh, that's not going to happen if you spend an hour towards that, or that's not going to happen because you're too old to start at this age. But with that attitude, then yes, that determines
right.
where you're going to be, and you have control over that attitude, which I think is the ultimate powerful thing.
Yeah. So 100%. And I love. I don't know if you do. I don't know if you watch anime. I didn't
Not as
usually.
much.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Me neither. I was like, oh yeah, this is not. This is now. So my buddy got me into One Piece. I mean, it's super popular right now.
Uh huh.
And the main character, dude, he is silly. He's just a silly guy, right?
Yeah.
But his naivete is so
Mm.
attractive. It's so attractive because I'm watching him. He's like, I'm gonna be the king of the pirates, and you're like, uh, this guy believes it so much that the people around him are like, I'm not gonna be part of your crew. He's like, yes, you will. And two episodes later, they're joining his crew, and you're like,
How?
his belief because he's so like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and you're
Yeah.
like, and then boom, he does it, and you're like, I know he's just a cartoon, but
Yeah.
it's like it's very. I relate. I had somebody told me the other day. It's like you only like this anime because you probably think you can relate to that guy, and I'm like, that's a compliment. And I'm not talking about the
Exactly.
powers or anything. I'm talking about the mindset.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm definitely going to check that out. And yeah, I mean, I think it's so much. There's a superpower in being able to say, you know, why can't I do that? It's like, why not?
right.
When you start to ask those questions, then why can't you be in my crew? Why can't you? Why can't I be the all these things? And why couldn't you do that? I think so many times we put these barriers upon ourselves. We have that attitude that doesn't allow us to do that, but really, it's nothing more than our attitude. If we actually tried and understand that maybe it's not going to be a straight path, but we continue to put our foot in front of the other, then we can still, reach whatever goal that we have.
Well, think about it. When you were a little kid, whether you know if you have nephews or nieces, or I don't know if you have kids, but
Hmm.
those little kids are like, I want to be a pirate, astronaut. I want to be
Right.
a pilot. I want to do this. I want to do that. And they actually believe it,
Right.
right? You go and they're like, I know how to fly, and they're like, no, you don't. And but they inside believe it
Yeah.
1,000%. And then we as an adults, as parents, we're like, well, you gotta pick one. Which
Yeah.
one is gonna be? You can't be
Hmm.
all. Then
Yeah.
they're like, okay, well, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be a millionaire? Well, your parents leave an assisted or like
Yeah.
government assisted assistance.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's like no, like that's why I have to be very careful. And I've caught myself like being that, saying something like, well, it might not work, and I'm like, oh, what? I should just
Right.
be encouraging,
Right.
like be like, you got it, man. You just got to do it. You got to try.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. I think that having that spirit is just, so powerful because again, you get to have the pen or the pencil and you get to write the story of your life. And of course it's not always easy. Or it could be easy. Who knows? I'm not gonna say it is or it isn't because I learned that you never know. But at the end of the day, you get to see that come to fruition. You don't get to have that pen or pencil in somebody else's hands. So I want to ask you now my
Yeah.
absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, David, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Ooh, it's a tough question, and awesome. It should be a great response, right? Because when people talk about, oh, you want to be a CEO, it's like, yes, I want to be a CEO. It's like, yeah, I have people below me. It's like, yeah, but that means that you, it, it's a big weight on your shoulder being a CEO, and we are a CEO of our lives. Whether somebody's working at a minimum wage job, you are a CEO. You are the CEO of your life. So for me, it would be to have control of your life and have your house in order. Because it doesn't matter what's happening with the government, doesn't matter what's happening in the world. If you're not able to pay your bills, the government is not going to come and save you. It's going to be being a CEO is being in charge and having order in your house and being in control of you, what you can control. You cannot control like I cannot control the interest rates. What I can control is maybe go harder on prospecting and attract more business. Talk to to get them face to face to my clients and be like, hey, guys, you guys love me. Who do you know that is looking to move? Right? The interest rates, sales will always happen. This 2023 has been a tough years for a lot of people in real estate, but it's also been the best years for some agents. So why is it that somebody's having a great time of the year while other people are struggling? The biggest the people become the wealthiest is during a downturn, right? When a bear market, people yeah, bear market,
Mhm.
they have make the most wealth. Why? A lot of it has to do with attitude, right?
Yeah.
Having the attitude and having their house in order. They're not sitting there complaining about, oh, the market crash, that I lost 50% of my equity on this. It's like, no, okay, well, this has happened. This is how life is. Life is not supposed to be easy. What you can control is what is inside of your little walls. You're with you 24/7. So that's what you can control. You can control your mind. And and if you can control your mind, you can have your house in order. I don't know if you were looking for a shorter response, but that was, I went in circles, man. That came out of left field. So
Nah, it's all good. That's a beautiful circle because I think at the end of the day, like, one of my bosses that I had before, she always said, control what you can control. And I think that's so powerful. And I love how that goes together with making sure that you have your house in order because at the end of the day, the things that we've been talking about, whether it be attitude, perspective, your work ethic, all those things, you can control those things a lot more than you can control all the other things. And at the end of the day, we might have to adjust, we might have to change, we might have to pivot, but if you continue to kind of make sure that you control what you can control and you have your house in order, then at the end of the day, you can have success, whether we're talking about business and you have a million employees or just talking about being the CEO of your life or anything in between and all around, you can make that
yeah.
impact. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, David, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, I appreciate your time even more. So, what I want to do now is
Hey,
pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you, find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
all right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I think one of the first things they have to do is start sharing your podcast. They have to share it to everybody. Listen, it's not because I'm here. It's because what the value you're providing to the marketplace, people take this for granted. People are like, oh well, I can just Google listen to somebody else. It's like, no, you have to. If you found this, whatever you found it, you're a frequent listener. Share this podcast with at least 10 of your close friends. Be like, oh, look, this Mexican guy was in this guy's podcast and he was talking nonsense. It's like, okay, perfect, that's fine, make fun of me, but share the podcast. That's what I would tell them. The other one would be uh, Benjamin Franklin. One of the best return of investments is investing in yourself. Investing in
Mm.
yourself. Listening to this type of podcast is definitely investing. Reading books, uh, and once you have a good ground of knowing who you are, what you want out of life, start investing in real estate. I'm a huge believer in real estate, and I wish I could go get on a time machine and go back 30 years and buy all towns, right? And now be super wealthy man. The I see real estate like planting a tree. When is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When is the second best time? Now.
Today.
That's how I see it
Mm.
with real estate. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I have it's David Pena 207. That's all around the board, and I'm also doing a little bit of YouTube. But like I was saying, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's very discouraging because you're like, oh, I got 3 views, great. But I'm more active in social media on Instagram, and because I share my workout videos, stories, and stuff, and yeah. Yeah. But thank you so much for having me, man. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I truly appreciate you. And of course, to make it even easier, we're gonna have the links and information in the show notes as well too, so that everybody can follow up with you. David, one quick question too: DC, Maryland, and Virginia, you cover all those areas that people can reach out to you.
So I cover Virginia. I'm
Got
only
it. Okay.
licensed in Virginia, but I have colleagues who can help you in DC and Maryland. If you're thinking about investing in any of these states, you let me know, and I will connect you with the right person.
Awesome. 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 Thank you so much for
Thanks
that,
so much,
David.
Jerry.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll have the information in the show notes that you can reach out to David. But truly appreciate you for all the wisdom and knowledge that you provided. I think so many times we get caught in the market's not right, or my day's going bad, or I wish I was a little bit taller or shorter or faster, whatever it is. We can always come up with those things. But if we can control the
Right.
things that we can control, and one of those big things is our attitude, then we really have the opportunity to have the life that we ultimately want to have. But it sometimes just requires us to do things differently. So thanks you so much for sharing that knowledge, wisdom, and all the knowledge and expertise you've been able to kind of go through. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and we'll definitely see you again.